Hey guys, Wolfie here with a special presentation for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global for the 4th of February 2020. And this is going to be a fun topic for me to explore here. And this is going to be the topic in question is secondary reworks. Now, this is going to be a two-part video, meaning that the first part here is going to be the female units. The second part will be male units. That way it's a little easier for me to do. Because if I were to clump it all in one video, not only would it take me too long of a time, but things can get really indecisive and much more difficult to me. So for me, just to split it into two, it's a lot easier for me to handle. So that's not on that. So for part one, for the female units, it's going to be 3 female units who I feel need a second rework, and 3 female units who I feel will be getting one. And this is not just JP, this is also for global. So I'm using global because it's the only platform I play. If I had this and JP, I'll say this right now, I probably would not have a job right now. So that with all that stuff out of the way, a few things when it comes to stuff like this. It is my opinion only. And I did a little work, with some of the picks, by looking at videos on YouTube or Twitter and formulate my own opinion based on certain things I've seen. So, before I get into the list, I do have a couple of announcements here and there. So first and foremost, I am in the process of a collaboration with a YouTuber known as BCSBuster. This is more specifically the downloadable content for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I am the sponsor. So if I am able to, I'll probably put a link of sorts to his channel in the description. It's either going to be this part or part 2. So hopefully I can get a description for his channel, so that way you guys can check out some of his works. He's been doing Let's Plays for quite a few years, and the reason why I went up and became a sponsor for the Breath of the Wild downloadable content is because I'm a fan of his works. He uses a pretty twisted sense of humor that I resonate with, and he can really use some love. And the type of stuff he does is, he does some Final Fantasy works. He also does other things like, the Legend of Zelda series, Star Tropics, some of the older games. He does some computer flight sim games as well, so it's a little bit something for most people in that regard. So that's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2 might come as a surprise, but in a couple of weeks, I will be distancing myself from the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia community. Now, you guys, some of you might be wondering why, and it's not for the reasons that you're thinking. Now, and this does come in conjunction with the sponsorship for the downloadable content for the Breath of the Wild with BCSBuster. So part of it is because of that. I want to make sure, I get myself, watching those videos, putting input, whatever, here and there. So I'm going to be spending a little time on the collaboration. In addition, I have a convention coming up towards the end of I wouldn't say towards the end of this month. It's actually at the very end of February. It goes into March. I will be at the convention all 3 days, and I need a thing called sleep. So I likely won't be contributing as much in discussions for a while, because I want to make sure I'm getting enough sleep and have as much fun at the convention as possible. Now, I'll try my best to do videos here and there throughout that time frame, but it's probably going to be a month or 2 before I can really contribute into Opera Omnia related discussions again, because like I said, I've got quite a few things coming up, with the convention, the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild collaboration with BCSBuster, and some health and life reasons that are completely unrelated to the game. So I just want to get that out of the way right now, before I go any further. So I'm going to go into the party section of the game to help me out with this. So the very first female unit of 3, and I do want to warn everybody, these are my personal picks, my opinion only, and with the 3 picks, the ones who I feel need one and the ones who I feel will be getting one will also have an honorable mention. So the first female unit who I definitely feel needs a second rework is none other than Terra from Final Fantasy VI. Well, if you look at her skill 1 and skill 2, you may not see it that well, but Meltdown and Meteor, these two have 6 uses each. I don't feel that she, as of right now, and even when her EX weapon gets realized on Global later on this month, I still don't feel she's suited for longer fights. She needs something to really help out in the sense of longevity, to help out in longer fights. She really needs something, and bad. Now, the second female unit who I feel needs a secondary rework is surprisingly one of the Cursed 6, and by that, unit from Final Fantasy X and X-2. Now, with her, is that the rework she got here on Global and JP beforehand was rather soft. They could have done something more with her skill 2, Cheer, but for some reason they didn't. And she needs something that will help her out in the sense of the passes to make her even better. So she does, in my opinion, need a second rework. Now, I'm going to go into the honorable mention of who I feel needs one before I get to my third and final pick, because it was either this one or the actual number 3. Now, mind you, both of these picks, my honorable mention and the third and final pick, these have yet to come on Global. And like I said towards the beginning of this video, I do a little bit of research. I go on YouTube and or Twitter, look at the footage for available for those who get their reworks, whatever. But again, these two, both the honorable mention and the third and final pick, they both have their both of their reworks have yet to come on Global. But yeah, we're going to go into the honorable mention here because, again, like I said, it was either that person or my final pick as the final pick. So the honorable mention is surprisingly Lena from Final Fantasy V. Now, it was her, like I said, it was either her or the final pick. The reason why I have her as the honorable mention is that with her rework and her EX weapon being realized, which is actually not that far along, it's later on this year, because it's kind of tied to the start of what's known as the character boards. What the character boards is it improves skill 1, skill 2, and the EX ability. So, with Lena, her rework has yet to come to Global, but I actually was able to see the footage of it. I was kind of scratching my head as to why the rework is the way it turned out to be, especially with skill 2. And then what they could have done with skill 1 was make it some format of AoE. That's all the hints I'm giving out on that rework. It's not the world's best. They could have done a better job. However, the reason why she is saved from the making the list is what they did with her EX upon realization. And with that, I'm glad they did what they did with her. That's, again, this is the only spoilers you guys are going to get, because the Dissidia database website actually has more details of the realization, which is, again, only available on JP at this point. It will be coming to Global later on this year. The third and final pick for female units who I feel need a second rework, and like Lena, it has yet to come to Global, is surprisingly Quistis from Final Fantasy VIII. Now, I was looking at the rework, and I actually had to scratch my head at it. Because before the rework, she actually had to be super reliant on skill 2 for guaranteed HP damage. She's one of those characters whose 70/70 awakening is late. Her rework is late. And again, with the rework, I have to scratch my head. And the reason why I say I have to scratch my head, there are some spoilers here, is that why did they not give her more uses of skill 2? And is Ujong, this is one of the YouTubers who actually puts out the JP like footage of reworks and whatever. I actually saw it on their channel, and that's where I caught myself figuratively scratching my head. I don't know why they did what they did, but yeah. That's my opinion on Quistis. She is a unit who will need a secondary rework. Now, we're going to go into female units who I feel will be getting a secondary rework in the future. 2 of them are mains. And mind you, as a friendly reminder, as I stated towards the beginning of this video, this is just the female units because the male units will be in part 2. Now, before I get into the list of who I feel will be getting one, there's going to be 2 female units I will be excluding from this list, and you'll probably be surprised as to who and why. Alisade will be the first unit I'm excluding from the list, is because she actually gets a second rework coming later on in Global. It's close to the start of the burst weapon era, so that's when she is slated to get her secondary rework. Realm from Final Fantasy VI, she is another that just got a second rework of sorts, and that's slated to come at a later point for Global. So those are 2 females I will be excluding from the list. Renoa I will also exclude, is because she recently got a rework on JP. I do have to look at footage before coming to a conclusion in that regard. So the first female unit I feel will be getting a secondary rework, and it's one of the characters that first showed up in the game, is Y'shtola from Final Fantasy XIV. She, like Terra and Shantoto, those 3 are considered the faces for their respective entries, and that's due to a known fact from Square Enix historically that Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy XI, and Final Fantasy XIV all lack a single character that's confirmed as the main. Now, for reasons that's truly unknown, Terra, Y'shtola, and Shantoto were considered the faces of their respective entries. Now, Y'shtola, like I said, she is one who I feel will be getting one, and that's because she carries a surprising amount of flexibility what can be done with the secondary rework. And the thing is with Y'shtola is like, right now she only has 1 HP move, that's HP attack. Or I should say, she only has 1 HP move outside the HP attack, and that's with skill 1, but under certain circumstances. And by that, her bravery has to be at least 30% of max in order to trigger the HP attack aspect of it. Now, with her, the reason why, that's one reason why. Now, another reason why I feel she will be getting a secondary rework, and this kind of ties into the burst weapon era. She is almost a surefire guaranteed to get one at some point in time. It definitely will not be with Ultimate Bahamut, because the whole thing with Ultimate Bahamut, that sort of thing is like you don't have characters repeating as synergy in more than one Esper trial. So, for those of you who are wondering who it could be for the next to get their first weapon, it's definitely not going to be Y'shtola. But I do see a lot of options out there for how they can handle her, because she's mainly support, but if they do a secondary rework, they'll probably put her in a little bit more of an offensive role. Now, the second female unit who I feel will be getting a rework And at some point, if I can get her on the screen, it is none other than Lightning from the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy. Now, the reason why I feel she is going to get a second rework soon is because right now she is the queen of single target. Meaning that skill 1, skill 2, and her EX ability all are single target. Now, the plus side to the fact that she's single target, she actually has a way to sustain her own HP. Not to forget that her EX realization probably puts her a little bit over the top. However, she lacks AoE. And in addition to all of that, she actually is one who could be a potential candidate for one being the next burst weapon with Ultimate Bahamut, knowing that she has yet to appear as synergy outside the Awakening waves. You look at 6060 Awakening wave, she was kind of early, getting her 6060. Now if you look at the 7070, she is among the very last. So, however, you notice that she actually is one of the first to get her character boards soon after. Now, some time has passed since, and we have heard nothing about Lightning. Now, recently, she actually, I would say she, but Final Fantasy XIII recently had a 10-year anniversary. Now, the developers could be developing something for her special a little late, and if it is a secondary rework, it's probably going to be tied to Ultimate Bahamut. She is one of those candidates slated to get, she's one of those candidates who I feel is slated to be the next getting their burst weapon with that particular Esper Bahamut, because when it comes to the realization, she actually has a way to inflict the Thunder Imperil. And what better way for her to get her burst weapon than also add the second rework and give her some format of AoE. Something, the Warrior Light treatment, where he had everything that's all AoE. Let me rephrase it. Warrior Light was all single, I was actually correction. So Warrior Light is all single target. Now with this burst, he finally has some format of AoE. Lightning is probably going to get that same treatment with the secondary rework. Now, we're going to go into the honorable mention first before I go into my final pick. The honorable mention is surprisingly Sarah from Final Fantasy XIII 2. The reason why I feel she will be getting one is the same reasoning for Lightning. That she doesn't really appear much outside of certain things. Meaning that she's got her awakenings, she got her first rework rather early. And nothing much going on since the character board. Now, the one thing she does not share with Lightning is the fact that Sarah actually has appeared as synergy in a couple of events. Notably, Bosch. So I do feel they're probably going to do something for a secondary rework where she becomes really, really freaking good. So that's the honorable mention, and the reason why I don't have her as the third and final pick is because she does have her character boards. So that's the only thing that's holding her back on that one. So now with that all out of the way, the third and final pick who I feel will be getting a secondary rework is very surprisingly Celeste from Final Fantasy VI. Now, the reason why I feel she will be getting one is that she does not have her character board on JP as of yet, to the best of my knowledge. However, she probably will be getting a secondary rework the instant let's know that she has her character boards coming. Now, she carries some degree of flexibility as to what they could do. I mean, if they were to do rework Rhoda once again, this could be going after everybody instead of just one target. And they could also do, in a secondary rework with Rodic, they could also give her skill uses back or whatever. There's a lot, surprisingly decent amount that they can do with her. So there you have it, folks. So to do a little bit of a recap, my bad. So for those characters who I feel will be needing a secondary rework, so the surefire picks are going to be Terra, Yuna, and Quistis, with Lena as an honorable mention. The units who I feel will be gaining a secondary rework are Yashola, Lightning, and Celeste, with Sarah as an honorable mention. So part 2 will be the male units. I just wanted to make this a little easy on myself because it would have been too difficult for me to do had I just lumped everybody in one video. So with that out of the way, I will be signing off, and I will catch you all on the flip side.